Recording in progress.
Good evening. Time being 7 o'clock, I call the October 16th, 2024 meeting of the Franklin Town Council to order. Please pause for a moment of silence. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, announcements from the chair. All citizens are welcome to attend public meetings in person. To view the live meeting remotely, citizens are encouraged to watch the live stream on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel or the live broadcast on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29. Meetings are also archived by Franklin TV on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel and shown on repeat on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29 for those who miss the live meeting. To listen to the meeting remotely, citizens may call in using this number, 929-205-6099. This will not permit participation in the meeting. To participate in the meeting remotely, citizens are able to join a Zoom webinar using the Zoom webinar ID 870-5358-9780 and then hit the pound sign. Once again, the webinar ID is 870-5358-9780 pound. Any participants who wish to speak during the webinar must enter their full name and email address, when joining the webinar. All participants will be automatically muted upon joining the webinar. In order to speak, participants who have entered full name and email address will need to select the raise hand function to request to be unmuted. All speakers will be required to state their full name and street address before commenting. Okay, upcoming events. Town Council will hold office hours tomorrow, October 17th at 8:30 a.m. at the Franklin Senior Center. The 2024 Franklin Farmers Market season will soon be coming to a close. The final two dates this year are Friday, October 18th and Friday, October 25th from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. on the Town Common. The Franklin Police Department will be hosting their annual Halloween party on Saturday, October 26th from 2 to 6 p.m. at the police station. The Franklin Library will be hosting Trunk or Treat on Saturday, October 19th from 10:30 to 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Join us in the library parking lot for a safe, little kid-friendly morning of trick and treating in the daylight. In the event of rain, this event will move indoors. The Franklin Library will also be hosting Halloween Sock Hop on Friday, October 25th at 1 p.m. Enjoy refreshments, party games, prizes, and costume contests. Okay, moving on. Citizens' comments. Citizens are welcome to express their views for up to 3 minutes on a matter that is not on the agenda. The council will not engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised during citizens' comments. The town council will give remarks appropriate consideration and may ask the town administrator to review the matter. Nothing herein shall prevent the town administrator from correcting a misstatement of fact. So with that, is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Please come forward. Name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Dasha Videra. I live at 35 Marvin Ave. I am here because after last Tuesday's event, successfully, I think the 10th Norfolk District had a very good turnout, and I think overall the debate went pretty well. However, leading up to the debate, my jaw was to the floor. All I was doing was just standing there, and the thought that somebody could tell me that I didn't have the right to live, I was running a hate campaign, and then to tip it off, call me a vile human. I'm very thankful for someone physically being there to help diminish where that could have gone. I'm very thankful that my husband was not there, because I think a very poor situation could have gotten even uglier. But the part that I'm most disheartened about is the fact that, as you guys all know, I've been in politics trying to raise some concerns over the last 3 or so years and truly trying to be an advocate for change. And one of the things that I have consistently seen is, yeah, we talk about hate groups, but I can tell you right now that Vote Franklin page needs to be taken down. That is absolutely a hate page. Leading up to the events that happened on Tuesday, there are people in this town that literally tried to compare me, create an AI visual, and make it look like that I was actually a school shooter. That person's husband, who happens to be a lawyer, then decided to compare me to the Boston Strangler. I don't even know what to say. Truly, I don't. I mean, these are things that led up on a social media page that could have had people say, you know what, this is unacceptable, let's take it down. And instead, let it linger and go on. And so much so that the person who decided to make the comments that they made on Tuesday night, is the chair of the cultural committee here in town, and actually happens and was a previous town council member. And when that event happened, there's a town council member that's standing right there that is a constant voice for no hate. So, as somebody that's been trying to get my voice heard in a town that is absolutely filled with hate and division, I stand here really proudly to say I'm not living in fear. I'm going to continue to come out. I am proud that I am choosing to run for state senate, because I don't think it's right to be disrespected because I might think differently than you. I'm looking and I'm choosing to live in Massachusetts for many reasons. I appreciate the fact that we have choice options, and I'm looking to build bridges. And if that's a problem for somebody, I'm at a point where I don't even know what to say. But again, telling someone that they don't have the right to live, telling them that they're a vile human, and then to top it all off, somebody followed me home. So, it's getting to the point that I'm like, I don't even feel safe in my own neighborhood. So again, very proud of myself for coming out over the last 3 years. I will absolutely make my voices heard. I'm very proud of other people willing to come out. But ask yourselves this: why would somebody ever run for office as if this is the kind of stuff that they have to deal with?
Thank you, Dashi. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item? In the back, please. Just name and address, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Sean Dacey. Currently live at 207 West Central Street. I'm far from a public speaker. In general, I think it would be fair for me to claim that I'm a skilled problem solver. If something is interesting to me, I will hyper-focus on it until I find the answers I'm seeking. Then we'll move on to the next thing. Life's biggest questions are usually the most fascinating. Sharing all of that was a necessary qualifier for this. There is one problem in particular that I've thought about more than nearly all others and would like to address it now. How do we fix us? It's a problem that has been on my mind for many years and countless hours. I've entertained a wide range of solutions and have attempted to maintain open-mindedness and objectivity throughout the process, oftentimes abandoning promising ideas that didn't hold up to further evaluation. I know that I don't have every answer, but time and time again, the solution to many of our issues comes down to doing one thing: fixing the fundamental flaws in our public education system. If done right and over a long enough timeline, these problems will be looked back on and seen for what they really are, symptoms of a culture that are disconnected from its humanity. I believe there is a relatively simple and cost-effective way to do it that will cascade into many positive changes for our future. And by being members of the Franklin, Massachusetts Town Council, you are each in a unique position to be the pioneers of that change. As you can imagine, this allotted 3 minutes is not enough for me to make any sort of case for my proposal. So I humbly request the time necessary, either now or sometime in the near future, for you to hear what I've prepared.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in council chambers? Please come forward. Name and address, please.
Jane Calloway Tripp, 607 Maple Street. I'm here today to address the issue of hate and to clarify a few matters. At the last council meeting, Council Cormier Ledger responded to my citizens' comments during his closing council comments. While I appreciate the attempt to engage, I must note that this is a violation of Robert's Rule of Order. And if you wish to address my comments in the future, I ask that you do so after the meeting so we can maintain proper procedure. Councilor Cormier Ledger suggested that as I aspire to join council, I should take a stand against hate. I'm doing just that today. As an active member of the Franklin Vote page, I have observed that nearly every council member is also a member of that page. Yet, when hateful posts and character attacks against Dasha Videra appeared, referring to her as the Boston Strangler, blaming her for school shootings, and more, no council spoke out. This silence was similarly present during the 2021 town election. Some of those spreading hate are individuals that are appointed by this council, the town administrator, and yet those individuals label us as haters. Councilor Cormier Ledger, you stated that I should stand against hate on these platforms if I aspire to be on council. I want to know where you were on the vote page. You are a councilor with a duty to represent all residents, and yet I saw no response from you denouncing the hateful posts. During the recent state rep debate, you were standing near Dasha Videra when John Rustano approached her, calling her a vile human and that she did not deserve to live. This is not only a hateful attack, but basically a threat to her life. While a gentleman nearby stepped in, you did nothing. Please do not claim that you didn't hear, because many witnesses did. Mr. Rustano is an active supporter of yours and serves as the chair of the Cultural Council. I have screenshots to prove his ongoing support for you. Your silence sends a troubling message that we should only stand against hate when it aligns with your views, not when it targets those you oppose. This selective stance does not reflect true representation of all residents, and in my opinion, is grounds for removal from the council position. You are elected to represent us all. Furthermore, I'm calling for the immediate removal of John Rustano from the Cultural Council and any committee he serves on. Allowing him to remain is to condone this kind of hate within our town leadership. If the council fails to act, it demonstrates a tolerance for such behavior. I have committed to bringing accountability back to this town for all who represent it, whether elected, appointed, or employed. In closing, as discussions continue around reducing division in our town, we must prioritize accountability. Allowing hateful behavior to persist without consequence only deepens the divide. Inaction is a statement of support of this behavior and a rejection of no tolerance stance on hate.
Thank you, Jane. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Please come forward, Susan. Name and address, please.
Good evening, Susan Dusnap, 10 Garden Street. First, I was not at that event, but I have to apologize. I'm very sorry that you were put in that position. It's very difficult to hear. Okay.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Patrick Sheridan seems to think that our comments are funny.
You've been laughing for the past 5 minutes.
This is serious, we're talking about...
Please. Susan, you have the floor.
I have a different subject, but I did want to acknowledge it. I find that very disturbing. As a taxpayer, I have significant concerns for Franklin's financial stability and the lack of conversations and planning at the town council level. After the failed override, there was no municipal contingency spending plan available until 2 weeks after the vote. It is now 15 weeks into fiscal year 2025, and we do not have a published 5-year projection. I attended the September 11th Joint Budget Subcommittee meeting. After the discussion, I left with my estimate of a $4 to $5 million budget shortfall for fiscal year 2026. Let's see how close I am. I'll be there next week. I'm most concerned about the lack of interest, urgency, and commitment from this council to solving our town's financial challenges. At the September 11th Joint Budget Subcommittee, we were told that the process to develop a projection and identify cuts to services would take some time. I respectfully challenge this, as our finances are really not that difficult to predict, and you are doing a projection. Okay? Next step would be to decide which departments absorb the cuts and the resulting service impacts to the community. I see no reason why this information cannot be available for council review by Thanksgiving. It's time to start elevating this topic and requiring accurate financial information from our town administration on a regular basis. A $4 to $5 million shortfall will have significant implications to our town services and further erode our school programs. Franklin will look less attractive to new families, and our property values will decline. That is not the Franklin I want to see. I ask you to put Franklin's financial stability at the top of your priority list. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Please come forward. Name and address, please.
Diana Bodsley, Alpine Place. And I just want to say, I really was hoping to hear some kind of official statement in terms of we don't do hate here in town, and highlighting what had happened to Dashi on more of official notice. I want to say that I've been documenting this kind of thing from that one particular group. And in fact, on 12/5/21, I messaged because of the bullying that was happening on different issues. And of course, it always comes around election time the most. But anyone who doesn't go along with the current narrative. So this is what I had sent. Perhaps I just file a complaint with the feds on cyberbullying to the admin of that page. You allow these small few to attack and bully those that do not follow the mainstream democratic flow. Shameful on all parts. I clearly informed the person of why I stopped my comments on my post, and I shared with that person, he continued on with bullying me on a separate post that you allowed. This small group of folks are allowed to jump all over people, which only reinforce the division in this town. You can call it debate all you want, but it is not. It is bullying. Wonder why folks feel your group does not allow differences of opinion. Just reread all 3 posts. I am really tired of the bullying you allow. Shameful, really, completely shameful. But to keep believing you are not part of the division in this town is sad. And what happened after that? I'm banned. I can't even find the group anymore. And I was silenced.
Thank you.
And not in 21.
Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak, please?
Lisa MacDonald, 3 Donny Drive. I was at that debate. I did not hear what was said to Dasha. However, after the meeting, someone else and I tried to have a conversation with JR, and the hate, the name calling was beyond disgusting. He yelled in my face. Some nameless woman yelled in my face. And to know that this man is a representative of St. Mary's Church, and I don't even go to church, is disgusting. I truly hope that that man stops laughing, because this isn't a laughing matter. You are supposed to be a representative of this town, and I've watched you laugh nonstop for 10 minutes. This woman is trying to make change. This, what you're doing, is disgusting. I have never once come to a town council meeting to speak, but I'm just done with the things that are said, the things that were said to her, the things that were said to myself and to my girlfriend, to try to have an attempt at clarity as to what he said or why he would say the things that he said to her, were just blew my mind. Blew my mind. I have never witnessed a man talk to a woman the way he spoke to her, and then in turn talk to my friend and I in the means that he did. It was pure disgust. And I truly hope that you take the actions that Jane has proposed seriously, and I'm hoping that someone from St. Mary's takes a look at this man, because it was pure, utter filth. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to, please come forward. Name and address, please.
Excuse me. Ken Ojuku, 73 South Street. I recognize that you can't respond to citizens' comments, so I'm not looking for a response, but I wanted to have you think about a couple of things. One, just to follow up on Ms. Dusnap's comment, I think she's absolutely right that we all are aware that there's a deficit that we're looking at in the upcoming year, and we need to think about how we're actually going to address it. I get that's why why you put together the joint budget subcommittee, whatever it is. My concern is that we had that first meeting in September 11th. We have the next meeting next week. There's just been a long, silent gap between the two meetings. I get that there's probably work going on. People are doing things, but there is no visibility, and that's going to lead to a lot of frustration from many people in the town. I don't know if a way to do that is interim updates or reports in between. That's one suggestion that you might consider, so it doesn't happen between the next couple of meetings. But one thing that we could do that I would just like to recommend for at least thought is have either an agenda or just what's the question that we're answering at this next meeting, right? So we know when these meetings are happening, what's the topic, what's the question that we're going to look to address in each one, so that we have a sense of progress. We're actually making steps going forward, and we don't feel every time that we come in that we're starting from square one again. I know we reviewed an initial draft of the budget on September 11th. There were questions around it. We need to resolve those. And my fear is that we're going to come in next week and feel like we're starting from the first page again because we're going from that initial draft. I get that will not be the case, but there's going to be frustration because there's been such a long gap. So, taking a step back, my humble request is just that we think about how we continue to message and make sure that we're making progress, not just on the dates of the meetings, but in between, and that people are aware that that's happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in council? Sure, please come forward. Just name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Patty Dolan at 35 Town Line Road, and I just wanted to echo Sue's comments about a request for just a focus on the financial stability or instability of the town, and really just thinking ahead to what looks like is going to be a deficit. I'm really honestly terrified for the upcoming fiscal year. I have a son in middle school, And we really just can't get to a time and say, oh, let's take it from the schools. They employ the most number of people. I mean, our schools and teachers and students, it's been eviscerated and continues to be. So I just really would ask and urge that we focus on budgeting and projections and what's going to happen, and we don't get to April, May, whenever it is, and say, oh, you know, there's no money, what are we going to do? So again, just to reinforce that. And I also think we've heard about hate today in the town, which is really upsetting and concerning. And one place that hate can be addressed is through education and education in our schools. And I just think if you let your schools fall apart, there goes the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Name and address, please.
Jackie Mayseal, 95 Elm Street. I wasn't planning on saying anything because I know Nancy's here. She's going to give us election information, but rather than wait to see what she says and then citizen comments is over, I would like to point out an issue that has happened the last 2, maybe 3 elections. It's the 150-foot rule. And the fact that there's only, when you look at the walkway that goes over to the high school entrance, there's 2 sidewalks. In one sidewalk, you can't stand on the grass because I don't know why. Maybe the DPW person is afraid we're going to kill the grass, but the other place you can. So I think that both those areas should be allowed for you to stand there, put your chair down, or sit there, or if it's the bad weather, put up a rain fly. It seems like it's prejudicial because you're only letting 50% of the groups access the grass. So I don't know if that's Nancy's field of control, or it's the town council and DPW, or it's the town administrator, but I would like for you to be able to fix the problem for this coming election. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Name and address, please.
Hi.
Just don't get too close.
Yeah, I know, right? My name is Jen Clark. I live at 53 Crocker Ave. I guess for me, the only thing I want to say, just kind of in defense of the hate, is that kindness matters signs are all over Franklin. Okay, like, and I don't have one because I truly don't think Franklin is kind. And it's sad for me to say that because my kids go to school. I have 2 kids in high school. I see Ted at the games all the time. Like, we're all out there hooping and hollering for our teams and all of that. But I hope everyone at this table, including Mr. Sheridan, who literally, I don't know what's going on right now with him, but whether I'm Democrat or Republican or an independent, it shouldn't matter. Because kindness matters because you're kind, not because you're a Democrat or a Republican or you sit on a committee. At the end of the day, I tell my 2 children, be a good person and all will work out. The vote page is horrible. I know a lot of you are on it. There's quite a few that write books. I don't know how they have all the time, but so be it. I just feel like if you're gonna preach kindness matters, then be kind. It doesn't take much to be kind. Say thank you when someone holds a door. Say, hey, my son has to have surgery tomorrow from a football game. Hey, you know what? Help him up the stairs or help him with his book bag. That's it. It doesn't take money. It doesn't take anything. It's just kind. And I am Catholic. I was born and raised Catholic. And I don't love where the Catholic religion has gone because I truly feel like they promote the hate. And that makes me sad because my husband is Jewish and we didn't baptize our children because he's Jewish, I'm Catholic, whatever. So we had a blessing and a deacon actually told me that my daughter would not go to heaven because she wasn't baptized in the eyes of God. So we can just say that I haven't stepped foot in a Catholic church since then. However, I truly still believe I don't need to be in church to know I'm a good person. So that's all I can say. If you're gonna preach kindness, just do it. That's it. And I don't know what else to say, but Franklin has turned into a very sad town, and I will say, once my kids are done with school, we will be leaving, because it is just not welcoming anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda?
Gee, thanks. Gee, thanks.
Our town clerk.
Good evening, Dashi. I am so sorry that you had to go through that. I truly am. I'm sorry. Good evening, everybody. Nancy Dinello, your town clerk. I'm here tonight to update everybody on the upcoming presidential election, which is November 5th, from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Franklin High School Gymnasium, 218 Oak Street, 20 days away. Oh, 20 days. We're almost there. The following are some important dates to be aware of. The first is this Saturday and Sunday, October 19th and 20th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the start of in-person early voting. That will be done here from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. Again, come to the clerk's office and you can vote in person. We'll also be offering it during the weekdays. And that will be during normal business hours. Then we're right back at it again the following Saturday and Sunday, the 26th and the 27th, again from 9 to 1 for voting purposes only. And the last day to register to vote is also Saturday, October 26th, from 9 to 5. So 9 to 1, you can come in and early vote, and 9 to 5 is the last day to register to vote. And then again, of course, during the week of October 28th through November 1st, during normal business hours. Now, while we have in-person early voting going on downstairs, the week of October 28th will also be upstairs for advanced opening, which will commence on October 28th through November 1st. What is advanced opening? Well, the Secretary of State, under the provisions of Chapter 115 of the Acts of 2020, allows us to open early voted ballots up to 9 days prior to the election. With an election of this size, most clerks, if not all, will exercise that right, and we will. Not done yet. Then, once we open all the ballots, we're then going to go up to the Franklin High School on November 2nd. And again, under the same acts of advanced opening, we're allowed to advance deposit. So that's what we're going to do. We'll be doing that Saturday the 2nd, again, at Franklin High School. All viewers are welcome. I only ask that you check in with me so I have chairs for you to sit if you'd like to sit. And that will start at 9 a.m. until we are completely done depositing the ballots. So I don't know how long it's going to go. It could go till 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. We're going to do it until we're done. It will be under the observation of the Town of Franklin Police and my supervision as well. The election wardens will be depositing the ballots into the tabulators. When complete, the memory cards will be removed from the tabulators and secured in the town clerk's vault until Election Day. No numbers will be tabulated until the close of election at 8 p.m. on November 5th. The town clerk's office will be closed November 5th. We'll all be up at the election. So please plan accordingly. If you need a vital, call us the day before. We'll set it up with the treasurer's office and maybe leave it there for you. So please plan accordingly. I'm going to say in closing, if you requested a ballot and you have yet to receive it, please note, all ballot requests are mailed out the same day we receive the request. There are a lot of things that I can control, but once I drop off the ballots at the post office, they're out of my control. I don't know how long it's going to take to get to you. It should only take a couple of days. They are taking a little bit longer. So if you have any questions, if you haven't received your ballot, please reach out to me, and we'll gladly assist you. Everybody knows how to reach me. So, fun facts. We have a total of, Mr. Sherlock, 25,451 registered voters and 33,625 residents. So far, a total of 8,000 ballots have been mailed, and we get requests every single day. And we've only received 2,400 back. So remember, get those ballots in by 8 p.m. on Election Day, November 5th. And I ask, we have 2 drop-off bins, one, the white mailbox by the drive-up, and then there's one at the entrance to the path into the main entrance. Drop them off there. Don't wait for the mail. Drop them off in one of the bins. And I said one more thing, but I have a couple more things. Okay. In the midst of all this election stuff, I'm happy to say that I have approved and ordered the 2024 Town's Annual Report. I'm really excited. And it will be in for the election, and it'll be distributed at the election. Obviously, peak voting hours for in-person early voting will be the weekends. So I ask, please be patient. And if the lot's full, go do your grocery shopping, go grab a coffee, and then come back. Remember, you have 2 weeks to vote early. And I respectfully request that you be patient. If there's a line, please, just be patient. We'll get you in and out as fast as we can. Jackie, I'll work on that grassed area. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you,
Have a
Nancy.
wonderful night.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone out there in Zoom land that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Don't see anybody, do you? Okay. Okay, moving on. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from September 4th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, additions, deletions? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I now entertain a motion to approve the minutes from September 18th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, additions, deletions? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item on the agenda, proclamations, recognitions. We have none this evening. Appointments. We do have some appointments. 2024 election workers. Clerk will read the appointments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm told to talk into the microphone. These are appointments, Mr. Chairman, for election workers. The town clerk has submitted the list of names, which I will read shortly, attached hereto as Exhibit 1, to be appointed as election workers for November 5th, 2024 national election. The names, Tracy Allard Pacheco, Jean Tollard, Gail Vieira, Roberta DeBadge-Strahan, Nicholas DeChico, Vincent Hurley, Paulette Babardi, Joanne Osborne, Lorraine Forbes, Lisa Regan, Francis Coughlin, John Annaberry, Gina Alessi, Charles Gravina, Diane McCoon O'Connell, and Bonnie Tinley. Mr. Chairman, this is a motion to appoint the persons whose names appear on Exhibit 1 as election workers as requested by the town clerk.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Huh? I think you're...
I was gonna say, is that the same list that is in the
No,
agenda?
Nancy.
No, these are these additional, Nancy?
Those are new
That's what I thought.
employees. The ones you approved in January,
Okay.
that's all of them.
Thank you.
Plus these.
Thank you for the
So these are
clarification.
additional to the ones that we've already voted to.
Correct.
Okay.
is why the list is much shorter.
Understood, but it didn't say that. Okay, seeing, any further discussion? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item on the agenda is license transactions. I'm sorry, public hearings. We have none scheduled. License transaction, we have none scheduled. Next item is presentation and discussion. We have a presentation tonight from Franklin Branding Projects, AJ Rebecki, who is here with our Deputy Town Administrator.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to give a little overview. I wasn't planning on giving a presentation, but I had a lot of background information, so I figured I'll give a quick presentation, and then I'll hand it over to AJ here to really talk about the design and that process, and really go into the branding project itself. So before we talk about the branding project that's currently underway, I just want to give a brief overview of the benefits of branding. As you can see on this slide, our brand is currently very inconsistent. All of our departments use different logos and branding for letterhead, anything that they're putting the town logo on. So really, we felt there was a need to kind of look consistent with our branding. We currently don't have brand guidelines for our departments to adhere to when creating the official marketing and communications. As you can see here, we have several different logos within, just one of our brand elements. It's important that the public sees the town and interacts with the town in a consistent manner, as this allows us to determine, it allows them to determine that they're interacting with an official, with the town as an official. Within, if it's if it's the bills or on social media or wherever, they'll know if we're using a consistent brand that it is official from the town. So just a little bit on the benefits of branding. Branding creates consistency among departmental communications. It helps to streamline system and create efficiencies, saving time, money, and duplication. It creates organizational unity, equity, and professionalism across departments. It drives economic development, also can attract investment and boost tourism within a town. It also will differentiate Franklin from other municipalities, and it will also seek to showcase the vibrancy of the community and foster community pride. I just want to make sure everyone knows that the town branding project is being funded through a state economic development earmark that was enacted by Governor Baker in November of 2022. And this funding cannot be used for any other municipal purposes. At the end of this project, the hope is that we will produce a logo with a tagline or slogan for the town, as well as templates, a toolkit, and brand guidelines for our departments to utilize. The new imagery will be used on our website, social media, marketing materials, etc., and it will be a catalyst for the next phase, hopefully, of marketing and wayfinding. It's important to note, because I've been asked this question, that we will not be getting rid of the town seal. This project will provide the town with a usable town seal imagery, as the town seal that we currently use is not really clear, so AJ will be making sure that our official seal is cleaned up, but it will stay the same. And then that seal will be used on official legal documents and formal use. And our new logo will be used everywhere else, as shown in this Amesbury example. It just shows, what they just went through a branding project, so I'm just showing what they kind of use their logo on, and we'll probably do something very similar. And then quickly, I'm just gonna go through the work to date. This process so far has gone through the EDC. We had a designer selection committee, which consisted of myself, the chair of the EDC, the director of planning and community development, and the director of arts, culture, and the creative economy. We released a call for proposals back in July. We received we received 5 proposals and interviewed all 5 designers. And we decided to go with AJ Rebecki, who, again, like I said, is here tonight to go through what he's done so far for this project. Franklin, AJ is a Franklin resident, and he was the creative director for Wayfair for 4 years, drafting Wayfair's brand, visual identity, and talent market strategy. He is now a freelance designer and consultant here in Franklin. So I'm happy to introduce him. He so far has done, he's gone through our brand audit, which we did ourselves in the past year. He went through all that information just to see, all the brand elements that we're using. And he also went through our community survey. We launched a community survey back in July. We received over 500 responses. So he took all that information and, really was trying to decipher what the community wants and hopes to put that in the new brand, into the new brand design. So we went over the first round of designs this evening with the EDC. And the EDC will work to narrow down the scope of designs and make a recommendation, hopefully by the end of November, to the town council. So with that, I will hand the next presentation over to AJ, so you'll have an idea of what he's been doing so far.
Thank you, Amy.
Just set this up for you.
Good evening, everyone. Chairman, council members, thank you for having me. AJ Rebecki, 8 Meadowbrook Road here in Franklin. I'm excited to share with you kind of what we've been doing so far. It's been a really productive almost 2 months, and we're gonna show you a lot of cool things tonight and the insight that got us to where we are today. Before we kind of dive into things, there's always a lot of questions between like, what's a brand versus a visual identity? And the way we kind of split the difference is a brand exists whether you want it to or not, right? And a brand is a perception and emotional connection that someone has with a product or place, right? It includes the values, the messages, and the experience you create. Visual identity, on the other hand, is the collection of visual elements like the logos, the colors, the fonts that reinforce and represent what that brand means. So we say if the brand is the story you tell, visual identity is how you basically visually communicate that story. Whenever I do a project like this, I try to come up with like the big idea, like what is the thing we're trying to accomplish? Like at the end of the day, it's not just a logo that floats on a shirt or is on a presentation. Like there's got to be more to that, right? The big idea here is that we're not rebranding Franklin, right? We're not saying this is what Franklin used to be and this is what Franklin is today. We're not doing that. We're just crafting a clear representation of what Franklin already is. And what does that mean? Well, that means consistent communication on how the town represents itself and talks to its citizens. That's efficiency across all town departments, so the way that we come across is consistent no matter if you get a tax bill or, someone from the DPW is doing work outside your home, right? And last but not least, it's pride and acknowledgement on where we work and we live. We picked this place for a reason, so what are those reasons and how can that come across visually in the logo and the identity that we make? This project is broken down into 3 different phases, right? Tonight we're going to be talking about phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 is brand direction. It's basically the foundations that the visual development is built off of. So we're going to take a look at the town's current visual identity and brand. We're going to dissect data and survey results from the citizens and business owners, and then we'll take a look at some of the other things that are out in the world that we can compare ourselves to. All this will culminate into a tagline and basically a manifesto that will serve as the foundation to build the visuals off of it. And that's what phase 2 is. That's creating a logo. How do you take all of that pre-work, that foundation, and what's that house that you build on top of it and what that looks like? And that will be a usable logo, an updated town seal, like Amy said. And then in the build out in phase 3, that's when it comes to life. That includes the brand guidelines that explains how this system works. This is all the print-ready files for new letterheads and business cards, right? We're going to be doing some work in Canva where people can, update designs on their own to implement, and then also give directions for mock-ups and things, wayfinding signage. So in the future, whether that's environmental signage on the common or new truck wraps for the DPW, there's an understanding of what this looks like and how it works. Questions or comments as I move forward? Cool. Let's go. So the first thing I did with the brand direction was take an audit, right? And actually Amy did, and this team did most of the work, but we kind of looked at everything together and said, what's going on here? And there's 3 real key takeaways. One is there's no concept of right or wrong. So there's multiple versions of the same logo. There's different styles across different departments. Type and color is all over the place. There's an overall lack of visual cohesion, which goes into B, is that everyone has their idea of what the visual identity of Franklin is. Everyone has their own logo. And it's in a positive attempt to market themselves, but doing so, it hurts the overall identity of a town when each department takes it upon themselves to figure out what that looks like. And from a citizen's perspective, right, if you're getting a look and feel from one department and then go somewhere else and get a letter or a notice or see some business card from somewhere else, then you start to question the legitimacy of what's going on, right? Like, why is there no thought behind this? Could it be a scam, right? This kind of helps get those worries out and make sure that everyone is kind of speaking the same visual language, so to speak. And the last thing is that there's gradients, fine lines, lack of hierarchy. It's an overall kind of, it's a little messy on how we present ourselves, and it's really important that we clean that up to have a unified way that we present ourselves. Comes down to 2 things, right? Good design is good intent. I say that, think of it as if you take the time to craft something well, people understand that. And they said, well, we took the time because we appreciate your time. And there should never, ever be a question if a town document or notice is actually coming from the town itself. And the second thing is, bad design or lack of guidelines, it wastes time and it wastes money, because what ends up happening is it puts unnecessary pressure across all departments to make decisions that they shouldn't be making. Most of people didn't go to design school or art school, so they're thinking to themselves, how does this look? What format should I be using? Is it the right vendor? Is it the right logo? Is it the right color? So instead of doing, their normal day tasks and jobs, they're now trying to figure out how to be a designer and spending countless hours trying to figure out how to make something work. Amy said that there was a town survey that went out. We had over 500 responses. And what I wanted to do before I put pencil to paper is just have an understanding of what people thought about the town. And here's some of the key takeaways, is that 70% of the respondents had lived in Franklin for over 10 years, which is phenomenal. Citizens who have lived here under 10 years had the highest sentiment scores, which, to be honest with you, that's not surprising, right? There's a honeymoon phase in everything, and normally the newer you are to something, the better kind of sentiment you have towards it, and as you go on with something, sometimes it balances out and goes down. I drew a connection that it's more of like an employer brand thing than a product. Like, instead of thinking of Franklin as a product, think of it as like what we would think of it from like an employee-employer situation, is that People want to understand what they're going to get from the town, what the town's going to give them, and what they're going to feel about the town. And normally, over time, that kind of dies off. But there's still good things that come out of sentiment scores that are pretty low. The ages of 35 to 54 had the highest neutral positive to positive sentiment scores. And while males made up only a third of the respondents, they had the lowest sentiment scores compared to females and people who did not want to specify what their gender was. Okay? And last but not least is that there's 42 towns, cities, and counties named Franklin in the United States. 23 of them are specifically named after Ben Franklin. It's a lot. So how do you stand out? Well, let's look at these people's logos, right? It's all over the place, right? And I think the only ones that I want to call out is Franklin, Wisconsin and Franklin, Tennessee had recently did a brand refresh like we're doing, but you can see a lot of them have antiquated and almost medical illustration styles of either a town common building or the town hall or something along those lines. Nothing really stands out. It's just, they're all Franklins floating in a sea of okays, right? So how do you stand out? So part of the survey, right, is that there was multiple choice and there was open responses. Multiple choices are great. They're great. That's how most of us probably scored high in elementary school, because there was 4 options. We picked the bubble and hoped it was the right answer. But when it comes to this, the real good information lies in open responses, because there's no guardrails on what can be said. It's true, raw, unfiltered kind of thoughts around what's going on. And the 4 open responses is, what does Franklin do better? What do we want to see from Franklin's future? What makes Franklin special? And share your thoughts and opinions. And what I wanted to do was find the common denominator in the middle about how people feel across all 4 of those open-ended questions. And there was 4 things that came about. People are passionate that there's a desire to keep Franklin awesome to live here. This idea of selflessness is that the wants and needs are rarely for the here and now, but everyone talked about how Franklin can be better for the future generations down the line, which is amazing, right? There was also this feeling of nostalgia, is that there's this strong undercurrent of remembering what Franklin used to be, in quotes. And there's a heavy amount of skepticism around the necessity and effectiveness of a new town brand, especially with concerns around development, allocations, funds, etc. The other thing that I want to find the common denominator of is what's important to us all. So no matter what you thought or what side you're on or how you vote, what are the things that people will agree on no matter what? And the 5 things were safety, this idea of public safety and having a secure environment to live in. Second was education, is maintaining and improving the quality of schools and educational resources, which we heard tonight. Keeping the small town feel, so a shared desire to preserve Franklin's small town atmosphere and avoid overdevelopment. To foster an inclusive and close-knit community. And the last one, I think almost everyone said, is the continued respect for our parks and our open spaces is a must. So what does this all mean? There's 4 key themes that I took away after I kind of boiled everything down. And the first one is Franklin is a town of duality, and juxtaposing theme is actually a major theme. So we saw respected passion for outdoor spaces was always noted next to the symbolism and importance of permanent structures. There's a little bit of duality there. People want to protect small town values and that feeling of Americana, but recognize that smart development and modern amenities support infrastructure, funding, better taxes. Again, there's a little bit of a rub between old and new. It's kind of Ben, but it's mostly Horace, right? Although Franklin was the first town named after Ben Franklin, its true connection from everything I distilled was shaped by Horace Mann's legacy, right? Ben is a symbolic figure, and his influence is seen today, but nobody moves to Franklin, Massachusetts because of Ben Franklin, right? They don't, right? They do it because I mean, honestly, from what I've read, and one of the reasons I moved here is like this idea of education is central to Franklin's identity, and residents expect unwavering support from local government to maintain this connection and keep it within its DNA. Third is Franklin means family. From multi-generation families to newcomers, Franklin is known to put down roots, and long-term residency along with a strong sense of community sets Franklin apart from other towns. The last one is Franklin's stuck, right? I think we heard some things tonight, but like everyone wants the best for Franklin, but there's a debate on how to keep our community vibrant yet small. And the motto, industry need not wish, is more relevant than it seems, because the other end of that quote is there's no gain through, you need pain to get gain, right? And reminding us that success comes through effort and progress, not entitlement and waiting, is that we're all moving forward because we believe this town is great and we want the best for the people who live here. This wasn't a plan, I swear to God. A citizen wrote this in the survey, and I want to read it out. And it said, this logo will have to accomplish the impossible task of bridging old and new. And by that I mean that people who have lived here their whole lives and who hate what Franklin has become with more of a city feel, more apartments, smart growth is strategic and good, and more traffic, versus the people who have moved here recently and don't want to climb the ladder and then pull it up behind them. How do you do that? I don't know. But this town is at a crossroads with good people on both sides who are passionate about their stances. Good luck. Thank you, citizen. I'm gonna need it. So, where do we go from here? So there was two things. Is that before I even get to a logo, is that I need to distill. I need to create some sort of manifesto that is Franklin, that you can try to plug in other towns and organizations and other municipalities, but it won't work because it only works for us. So this is what I came up with. Franklin is found at the intersection of tradition and progress. Our small town values, deep commitment to education, and shared vision for thoughtful development preserves our rich history while creating a brighter future for generations to come. This isn't just any town, it's Franklin, right? And the word choice is important here, and I want to break it down. First is this idea of Franklin is found. It implies this humility. We're not loudly marketing ourselves. We don't take out, billboards on the pike and say, come to Franklin, right? Like, this is a hidden gem that is built from the inside out, and it's that pride that, like, you really have to find it here, and once you're here, you'll get it. Two, intersection, this blend of classic Americana and modern amenities, right? First, public library. You go 2 blocks down the street, there's a Starbucks. Best of both worlds, right? Values, education, and development is the foundation of Franklin, and this is what I said about like this kind of employer brand thing, is that this is what we expect from citizens and what the citizens can expect from the town, those big three. 4, this idea of brighter future, our actions are selfless, aimed at benefiting future generations. And 5, this idea of this isn't just any town, it's a nod to Franklin city status despite its, small town feel. And then I had to think of a way, well, what kind of tagline or slogan can sum this up? And I thought of bold past, proud past, bold future, embrace progress, preserve tradition. It all felt a little political, yesterday's legacy, tomorrow's promise. And then I came upon this idea of the first of many. The first of many, it kind of works on a few levels. It's the first town named after Ben Franklin. We have the first public library. It's the birthplace of education. It references leading safety in schools. But I think most importantly, it's forward-looking. It's unrelenting in the pursuit of being a great town that people want to work and live in. Questions and comments before we move forward?
I think they're waiting for the...
Oh, okay. So this is my first time, sorry. Okay. So as we think about creating a logo and a visual identity, you want to think of inspiration. So what I do is I put together mood boards. I also think of power words. You can call it mind mapping, but it's like, what are some inspiration I can look at, and what are some words I can think of as I'm putting this together to kind of bring this to life. And we think about pride, stability, literal, accessible, connection, strength. Those are all the things that I came up with. And then also looking at, you know, some various different ways that you can bring this to life on the left-hand side. So, I know what you're thinking, get to the logos already. Before we do that, there's just one other thing that I want to talk about. Whenever I do a project, I always talk about tenets, right? What are the 3 tenets of visual identity work? The first one is to thy own audience be true. At the end of the day, this isn't for you, it's for them, right? We're creating a visual expression of the citizens' feelings or emotions and the understanding of the town, not our personal stylistic likes and dislikes. We're all going to like certain things and how things look and what colors, you know, resonate with you. But it's not about us. Second is art is not design. Design is not subjective. There's little to no room for interpretation. So, you know, we have to be really quick on conveying why we exist, why that matters, and why someone should engage. The third one, the most important one for this project, is know the limitations. Every project has its guardrails. Which are the ones for this project, right? So who's using the materials? How familiar are they with design? What are the future plans for the work? Thinking long-term is really imperative for successful implementation and adoption. And this project has 3 major limitations. The first one is there's no creative department here in Town Hall. I can't just create an amazing visual identity that's really robust and hand it over to a group of designers and say, make this work. You know, the people who need to bring this to life are the people who work in these buildings. So this identity has to thrive in a layman's world with the tools that are available at their disposal that are free. Second is being mindful of extra costs, right? Using custom fonts or licensed assets could end up costing tens of thousands to the town during implementation. So what can we use that we already have? And the last one is scalable. So whether it's being used across different departments or printed on various materials, this has to work for everyone at any time. Okay, now it's logos. Okay. This is the first logo concept. When we think of, you know, the next 3 logo concepts you're going to see, I kind of broke it down to like modern, vintage, and found somewhere in the middle. And this is a little bit of a modern take on a town logo. And the logo mark kind of breaks down into 4 different things. So you'll see this tree, this flourishing thing, this idea behind, you know, a protection of our green spaces and growth. The second one is a book opening, so this idea of knowledge and education as an integral part of our DNA. This solid, you know, this foundation at the bottom, you know, leans into some of the architecture work in the library, in our school, in our high school, which provides that foundation to what Franklin is. And putting in this shield shape implies stability and protection, which is really important to the people in this town. What does that look like? Well, in the top left, you can see what it would look like as co-branded. So whether that's building and inspections or the health department or, you know, the assessor, like you can easily plug in a name there and it works. In the bottom, there's different variations of the badge. So there's a 1778, you know, when we were founded. There's a shorter acronym version, and then of course the shield itself. And then for certain departments, because the logo is designed as a mirror shape, you can actually remove the right-hand side and put elements related to that department in there. So in terms of this recreation one, putting a basketball and a seam there from a football or baseball allows you to have a little bit of, you know, flexibility and uniqueness for each of the variables for the departments. Because this has some fine line work, I also wanted to make sure that if everything gets squished down into like a small avatar or on Instagram or on Facebook, there has to be something that still works here. So I also created a custom letter mark in the shape of an F that would be used when things get really, really small. Because in this digital age, that happens all the time. So on the right-hand side, you can see based on how much room you have, as that amount of room gets smaller, the kind of logo becomes responsive till its smallest form. Now, what does that look like in use? So like, here's an example of like maybe an ad or backdrop for the summer camp, right? So you have this like really nice blue monotone background, you have the yellow text above it, and then you have the nice Franklin Recreation badge in the top left-hand corner. In business cards, right, you're able to create a really streamlined way of presenting who works here with big names for the employee, a space for their job title and what they do, and then all the information in terms of what department they work on, and their contact information is right there, easily accessible. And on the right-hand side, you could see what this might look like from an Instagram post, right, for voting coming up in the next few weeks, right? So you can see that it's all part of the same family that works together. So no matter if you see it on Instagram, on business card, you know it's coming from the town. Because the logo is a little bit intricate, I always want to think forward, because sometimes you'll be printing this on a jacket or a vest. So like, does it embroider well, and how does that stand up? Or if someone wanted to bookmark the bill page on the town thing and you've sent a bookmark, like what does that icon look like? Like, how are we thinking of everything together to make sure that there's a well representation of what this is and how it works? Concept B is somewhere in the middle ground, right? What I did here is I created a custom letter F, but I also paired it with some type that has like this strong serif type, but then also this, this delicate, throwback, serif font to give that kind of duality between old and new. And I paired this lockup with the first of many tagline. And what I try to do here is, A, integrate that idea of number one into the mark itself. I created that custom serif to be a little bit thicker to show that stability and that strength. That angled bar, indicates some movement and some progress forward, but it also helps you shape in that number one. And then the last one shows you kind of what a default letter F is, and then the changes that I made to it to make it what it is right now. What does that logo system looks like? Well, I call this a vessel logo because you could put this on any shape in any color and it works. From 50 feet on the side of the building to a 10 pixel avatar, you will still see that letter F no matter what. And when we talk about sub-branding and across different committees, being able to have color-coded systems. So as you can see in the middle section, right, having the health department be red with like these simple iconographic, the cross for medical, for the water and sewer, have a blue and have the watermark. For the police department, using the thin blue line and black on blue. So there's a system in place that allows anyone to be able to kind of pick this up and use it, but also from a citizen's perspective, they look at it and they know exactly what's happening. And the last example is, if you have a larger area, like let's say the side of a truck, you can also have more room for like maybe an illustrative quality or some elements that interact with the F to make it a little bit more bold and a little bit, have it stand out. Here's an example of what a truck wrap would look like, right? F is clearly marked on the door with the Town of Franklin, Department of Public Works. Maybe the black quarter panel has a little bit of a larger version of that. So you see that driving down the street, you know exactly who that truck is and what they're doing. What does that look in business cards? Well, here's an example of Chief Lynch's card where we have, the sub-branded police department logo. We can easily see who the card's from and what their position is. And on the right-hand side, we have a sample Instagram posts. Municipalities often have to put a large amount of information in a small area. So a text post like this is, how do the fonts that I picked out, like how do they work in a post that people can understand what's the big idea, what's the supporting information, and where's the when? So where is the where and where is the when? So if they have to act, how do they do so? When you think about how it might look on a letterhead, this is the health department version that I put together, but you can clearly identify who it's from. All the people who work in that department are clearly outlined on the side, and then it gives plenty of information on the letter portion and the content. And then ultimately what that might look like on a an ID card as well. The last concept is a little bit more of that vintage heritage aspect, something that I wanted to play on that duality of could it have worked 40 years ago and can it work 40 years in the future? And it's a little bit of a retro throwback, but the idea here was, how do we take the strong heritage letter T and intertwine it with this script letter F that creates something that's a dynamic, it's bold, but again, something that could have worked 40 years ago and could work 40 years into the future. And how does that look? So we have an idea of what, sub-branding for the public works is. This oval shape allows us to, wrap the town information in sub-departments around it. And then again, like the one before, it's kind of a vessel logo. You can put this in any shape, in any color, and for accessibility reasons and compliancy through the ADA, it will work. Business card and letterhead, simple, straightforward, effective, right? Being able to use white space properly to give designs room to breathe. And again, all of these fonts and things that I showed you are part of the Google suite that you pay for and are free to use. So in terms of being able to implement from town employees, it minimizes that downtime. And again, it's no extra cost to the town to license those fonts and information out to all of the people who might use it. Thinking embroidery, small details, how will this work? So here's an example of what it might look like embroidered on a sweatshirt. And then on the side of a truck, and maybe what it might look like incorporated to an Instagram post. I am really thankful that I got chosen to do this work. It's been awesome these last few weeks working with Amy and Melanie and Corey and the rest of the team. And again, here are the 3 concepts that I came up with. It's a win-win for me. I said this earlier because A, this is my job, but B, I live here. So at the end of the day, in a few months when I walk my kid in the common, I get to hopefully see a truck or something with this logo on it. Thank you all.
Thank you, AJ.
Thank you, AJ.
Okay, questions, comments? I'll go to Melanie first.
Thank you,
Councilor
Mr. Chairman.
Hamlin.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody remembers what Amy said at the beginning, that, this money was from an earmark from the state, can't be used on anything else. It's something that we've been trying to get done for years now, maybe 4 years or something, because it's just, there's too many things out there for people. And it's, and we're not gonna get rid of the seal, we're gonna make it so we can actually see it better, which I think will make a lot of people happy. It will make me happy, because then you can identify it. It's not really rebranding, it's just, as AJ said, it's just a clear representation of what Franklin already is. And I think he's taken all this information from the survey and put all these words, like I've read all the comments too. There was a lot of comments. I was like, how is he gonna put what I just read into a visual? And I think he really thought about everything. And like, I just wanna thank Amy and Corey and Brian for being on the committee. It was really great working. Amy worked really hard to get this all together. I think what we'll do is we'll take feedback from people about I think we'll have another meeting on the 17th, maybe, about it. The 13th. The 13th? Yep. The 13th. But I want to thank AJ. It's been a lot of fun working with him. He's got a lot of passion for the town. You can tell he loves living here. And it's just really cool to see his new eyes and how he sees everything. So I want to thank AJ too. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamlin. Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the presentation. I guess I'm a little bit confused. I'm hoping you can clarify. So the current logo with our current motto and good old Ben, that somehow gets incorporated into what you're presenting up here, or that goes away and we simply adopt one of these 3?
Jamie, did you want to jump on that?
Because that was confusing.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, through the council. So there's 2 issues. There's the seal, which is what you're looking at back there.
That's actually not.
Well, I know it was up on the screen earlier, but there's different variations of what you have. I mean, Ted's pointing back there. So there's different variations.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And the seal he had up on a slide before. The seal is an official process to go through the state. That is not what we're doing here. The seal is just going to be a graphically enhanced thing, because internally we have seals that have low DPI, they have the head sideways, they have the front. So people are confused about what the official seal is for the community. That's different. That cannot change. That's not going to change. We're just going to get a revised version of it so we can use it across the board. What they're talking about here is a logo. So the logo does not replace the seal. The logo becomes your logo, which many, many communities, as illustrated by AJ's presentation from just Franklin, but as Amy and I know, and I think others know, you know, Massachusetts communities have been doing logos to reflect kind of, I think as AJ's presentation did a fantastic job doing, kind of reflecting some of the values and character of the community. So I just wanted to make sure that was very clear. We're not replacing the seal. The seal's there. This is a logo that will then be used as kind of more of a marketing, branding, promotional aspect of letterhead, business cards, et cetera.
Okay, so, and thank you for that, and I don't think I'm the only one that was a little bit confused, but the seal will still be on the letterhead, but the logo will also be on the letterhead? Because it didn't look like that in the examples. It looked like we were going to try to shift to one of these three with a unified color and unified fonts. I heard that pretty clearly, but I didn't also see the seal, so I think that I'm just,
right now,
just
we
looking
don't
for some
use
clarity.
the seal on everything. That's part of the project. We don't have any consistency. I mean, there was a slide up here with different seals logos, different variations of town. I mean, we have 20, 25 departments, and then I think we have a different logo for almost every department. We have a different, the letterhead is different on almost everything. As AJ's presentation did a great job, eventually one of these will be selected and or modified, and then the variations of that will be done as his slide showed, maybe the fire department's red, the police department's blue, the little slight variations of that based on one of these logos.
I think early in the presentation, you made the comment about legal documents and so forth that would have the seal, the enhanced seal by enhanced, cleaned up so that it's, but all of the legal documents would have that seal.
The official town seal on it. And just the questions you're asking is what our departments ask all the time. Where does the seal go? So that's why we need brand guidelines.
Sure.
So AJ will be putting together a brand guideline book and say, when you need to use the official seal, this is where the logo will go, or the logo won't go on it. When you need to, when you're using a business, when you're putting in for business cards, the new logo will go on the business cards. When you're using social media, this is what you use. When you're putting a wrap, when Jay's putting wraps on all of our different vehicles, this is what he should be putting on it. So that we have a guidebook and everyone knows, how to use our seal versus our new logo. And in what, the large, if you go with one of these, some of them are the small ones, that he uses the different logos in different ways, depending on how much space is needed.
Yeah, no, I very much appreciate that, and thank you. I've gone through a couple of pretty large corporate branding exercises in my nonprofit world, and it's helpful. It's helpful for employees, and it's helpful for volunteers to have guidelines, like you say. I would suggest maybe you even take it further and come up with, these are the colors, these are the fonts, these are the sizes. Because otherwise, if you're just leaving it to individual creativity on Canva because it's free, you'll lose your consistency. So for people to be able to only pick from the following, and like you said, there is no design department, right? So people are going to still probably take a little bit of leeway, but limiting that will, I think, only add to the overall consistent look. I applaud the work. I applaud how far you've been able to come in such a short time, and I look forward to seeing where we go from here, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. First, yes, the grant was given to us, and you two have done a great job with that. It's really a great presentation. The thing I brought up earlier in our meeting was, and AJ said this, the funds. Okay, so this grant, we got that money free to do this, but now we have to pay for all this, okay? So, change the logos, we have 25 departments, Jamie, we have, how many buildings with the signs? I mean, we have Brutus here, he could probably tell us what it costs to re-sign a truck. I mean, is this 200, is it gonna cost the town $300,000 to implement all this?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I wouldn't say it's gonna, I wouldn't put a price tag to it. I think what the first step is to get this chosen. And then, as Amy said earlier, like when a new employee comes on, you're gonna get business cards anyways. You change over those business cards as they come along.
Right.
I don't think the idea is, and I don't, remember Julie Jacobson, when she was here, worked on this a little bit too, and put out a roadmap. I think it was 3 years maybe. There was a phase 1, a phase 2, and a phase 3. There might have even been a phase 4.
I think it was 5 years, maybe.
It was like 5 years. Brian, or Councilor Chandler, your comments about the cost of it certainly is there. But the state is committed to a lot of this. There's a lot of economic development money at the state level. We're certainly going to be applying for more money and more grants. We're going to certainly work with Rep. Roy and Senator Roush on those issues, or the governor and others. As you know, the 250th anniversary is coming up. The World Cup is coming up. There's other events. The state is going to be putting money out. This does put us in a position to be able to get some of those implementation dollars from the state. They are putting a lot of money into these issues. So, I think on wayfinding and maybe some of the other issues like that, those are certainly much more expensive items. But I think business cards and letterhead, the stenciling is not very expensive for the trucks. So there are some low-hanging fruit. I would notice there are still some funds available in this earmarked account right now. It's not like we spent the entire amount. So we would plan on using some of the additional earmarked money here to do some of that lowest hanging fruit. But I don't believe I can put a price tag to it right now, and I don't believe we would do it all in 2 months or 6 months. It would take a while for us to implement stuff like this.
Okay. Through Mr. Chairman, he did a great job explaining it. That's what I needed. I wanted the people to hear that, because I don't want to get an email tomorrow saying, oh, there's 2 more teachers gone, we got a free grant, but, we're going to change the vehicles, we're going to. Right. That's what I'm trying to nip that in the bud, and I appreciate all those thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor DeLarco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, I agree with, that was a great presentation, and picking one of the 3 is, I don't know, I got no idea. But, I don't like any of them. I don't like any of them, to be honest with you. But when we get the money, when we get a new truck, is that when we're gonna do it and keep that's the way I would do it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
right.
Yeah.
That's my trade, but I wouldn't do the trucks that we have now, but when we pass on a new truck, that's how we do it. So there really is no money for that, because you're not gonna do the old trucks.
Right.
You're doing the new truck, so we'd have to do it anyway. That's all I was trying to explain.
Good point.
Thank you. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mel, you're right, we've been talking about this for
Yeah, when you were on the EDC.
long time ago, when I was chair of the EDC. Back in those days, we talked about it too. But to the point, and I think this is probably the most glaring one, is right here. I've got the agenda, and I've got this official document with 2 completely different logos. And they're not seals.
Those are different seals.
It's the inconsistency is annoying. There's no doubt about it. And I can understand how various departments, can find that confusing. The only thing that I can remember over 15 years of doing this is this hasn't changed. This is one thing that probably hasn't changed since I've been here. Ben has taken on many different faces and many different configurations. It's about time we had some consistency. I completely agree with that fact. I do like, if I were to pick any one of these 3, I do like the shield idea. I think to Kobe's point during the EDC meeting, it is a little busy, agreeably so, but it has a sense of strength to it, along with character, is why I would choose, if I were to choose one of these 3, that would be my reasons for that. But I do agree that we definitely need to focus a lot on getting this official seal nailed down. If I were to pick one, I would say this is my favorite. The old one, the one that's been around pretty much since it was originally made back in the day.
that the official one?
Yeah, it's the official one.
Sign.
If we could just make it sharper, cleaner, deeper, that would probably make this seal look more proud than it is right now. It looks a little faded, old. And if we could just kind of clean up the original seal, that would be my opinion. I will say that I don't particularly like the one that's on the agenda, the one with Ben's face on it. I think it's kind of goofy. So having the seal cleaned up is a must, and if I were to pick one of these three, I would say the one with the shield, simply because it shows the most strength and it shows the most character. I'm not particularly fond of the letter F. I don't quite get or grasp the small letter F with that, and I think the last one, again, everyone's a critic, right? The last one's a little too artsy, so, sorry, my opinion. But one of the things that I would like to see, if it were possible, once we finally come up with some type of branding, is templates. You know, I mean, once we've chosen a design to come up with something that is somewhat of a consistency across the board, is to just basically you set them up, or Amy, along with Amy, set up templates so that when the departments call up and say, hey, what am I going to use for an official letterhead to make an address to the State House, or if I make it, to the council, what do these letterheads look like? And you say, okay, go to this template, go to this template, go to this template, go to this template. That way they're not recreating the wheel. And that seems to be the reason why we have such inconsistency is, like you said earlier, they've taken it upon themselves to create their own ideas and how they look at the town, where we need to have that consistency where they are like, okay, what does the administration think that this should look like? They can go to the template folder and say, this is the one, this is my choose. And it just takes a lot of the guessing game out of it. So, anyways, that's my 2 cents. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That was 3 cents, by the way.
That was 3 cents. I have to throw in a few extra cents.
Councilor Hamblin.
Can I have a couple more cents?
After Kobe.
Okay.
Councilor Frangillo.
Well, he'll say what I want.
Through you, if they could just speak to the full package, because I think a lot of the comments.
Yeah, that's what's missing.
A bit about that, with the teaser being, we're getting much more than just a logo and piecing out. Maybe you can speak to the full package.
Yeah, so the full package in the, my brain is not working right now, for the build-up. So you're gonna get a few things. Obviously, you're gonna get logo files in any sort of shape and format that you need, right? The second thing is the brand guidelines, a robust brand guidelines that explains how to use the logo, right? In different applications. When is color used? When's black and white used? How big can it go? How small can it go? If it's paired next to the town seal, where does that go? If the town seal is used here, when does the new logo go? When is the town seal versus this logo versus the Franklin Athletic Panther used, right? It's looking at, I try to make a watertight brand guidelines that anybody can look it up, like a standard operating procedure manual, and look at it and say, okay, I get this. Like, this is how this works. I have no questions. Because the last thing I want to do is have people keep emailing you because they don't understand how something works. I'm also going to create some print-ready templates. So the letterhead and the business cards are going to be printer-ready. So whoever you use for your town vendor, they will be set up and ready to roll. So it's like, hey, I need to have a new town employee. Here's your name. Run 100 of these off. It's ready to roll. And then I'm also going to be creating templates with inside Canva that has guardrails that are locked down, that has things that people can change and cannot change. So if someone has to make something on their own because there is no creative department, they have the brand guidelines and they have a lockdown templates folder within Canva to make sure they can do things that are still on brand.
Councilor Frangillo?
That's it for me, thank you.
Okay. Councilor Sherry, all set? Councilor Pellegrini?
I have to be perfectly honest. This doesn't impress me at all. Why change what we have? I know you're saying we're not changing the seal. In fact, the seal, when I was clerk, I had it all redone, and that's when we got the electric seal down there. So that's in perfect condition. Now you're creating and making a change. And not with that, I know that. I want to say so much and it's all just in my head right now. We have the seal on the letterhead. And yes, we have something different on the agenda. Well, shame on the town administrator's department, because you shouldn't have allowed that to be on there. It should have been the town seal. One seal is all we should be using. And when we see the town trucks go by, I don't want to see something like that on the truck. I want to see the town seal on the truck. It just doesn't make sense to me that we're changing something that works. You did a wonderful job, don't get me wrong, okay? I just don't like the change. I really don't. I don't think it's necessary. I think we're spending too much time on things like this when we have a hell of a lot of things to do in town. And this is gonna cost us a lot of money after we approve this or whatever the case. If we approve it, it's gonna cost us more money, and we don't have more money to spend. We really don't. I don't like any of those. I don't like anything like that that's going to change. People are gonna have something different on their letters as compared to the health department, to the recreation department. Everybody's gonna have something different. And I'm correct, right?
So, no, it would be, the town, the new brand.
Yeah.
And it would just say recreation department under it, or, but some of the external departments we can do something different with some of the external departments.
Okay, but why do we want to do things different with them?
Well, we're doing that now, so recreation's created their own logo now already.
Well, had they been given permission through the chair to Jamie to be
Through you,
able
Mr.
to do things like that?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, since before I was even here, town departments have been just doing their own thing for decades. I'm sorry to tell you that, Councilor Pellegrini.
I don't believe that's true.
If you go back to the slide earlier that AJ had up, he had different logos and different department and different things for different places. When a new chief, I'm just making a case, when a new chief takes over or something, or a new department head through the years, they go and try to do a little refresh. Actually, this process makes everything consistent across the board. There's gonna be slight variations in color, or as Amy said, maybe recreation department, Franklin Public School, like whatever. But right now, everything is different, and even the seals, the files that we have are all look different. And so we need some level of consistency. I would say, based on the feedback that we're receiving, I think that what I would like to see from AJ and Amy is, which is the point of tonight's presentation, which is to get these feelings and get these opinions from not only the council, but I'm sure there'll be more feedback in the weeks and weeks ahead. And maybe we still do the seal on the side of the town vehicles. There's nothing that's forcing us where we have to use the logo. But those are decisions within the council's authority and with the staff's authority. We can still use the seal. But to your point earlier, Councilor Pellegrini, once we have a new file with a seal that's defined, that seal will then be used on all of the letterhead, like you just pointed out. Because when I started here, there was just dozens of different files that look different. They have different colors. Some are filled in with colors, some are just blue, some are from the sides, some are from the front, some are from the top. I'm sorry, we have struggled with this for a long time. And to, I think Councilor Hamlin's point earlier and Councilor Jones, this has been a goal of the council's for 4 to 6 years. It's been on every single council goal session every 2 years, is to get some consistency and get some branding. We still have a lot of discretion of where to use the seal versus a logo. There's no doubt, Councilor Pellegrini, it is a little bit of change.
It's a lot of change.
But I think as the survey results also showed, and as
500 people out of 32,000 people in town.
That's right.
Made those suggestions.
but we have the same type of input on the open space plan. We have the same general input on the master plan. We have the same general input from surveys on a variety of things. I'm sure there's still going to be, after tonight's presentation, there'll be more thoughts and comments that will come in from people. Some people will like a lot of this stuff, some people won't like a lot of this stuff. That's okay. That's feedback that helps inform us of those brand guidelines and how we're gonna use these materials. And I just wanna be clear, this isn't something that's coming tomorrow. I mean, this is gonna take a long time to implement. It's gonna take thought. But as AJ had pointed out in his presentation, based on the survey results, there is this duality. And we are at a point in time where there are a lot of people that feel the past is really important. People have moved to town. We've heard from a lot of folks at the hearings this year that are looking forward and building their roots in this community, and they're looking out 30 or 40 years in the future. And we're trying to encapsulate all of those feelings into one set of consistency for the community. So I hope that answers some of the questions that folks had.
Well, it really doesn't, but we'll be talking about this a lot more, I'm sure. So just so that you know, I'm not in favor of this at all. And again, I don't want to criticize the two of you because I think it's a lot of work that you did. And if it's something that we really wanted, it will be voted that way. Myself, it isn't something that I want to see. I want to see Ben, and even this isn't exactly correct. It should have been like this, all right? And how these things are done, I don't know. I think it happened after I retired because I wouldn't have allowed it.
I think that's been up for a while, right?
No, I'm just joking.
I think I got here when that was there.
Oh, my God. All right, but take a look at our seal downstairs in the clerk's office, okay?
It was donated.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Baldwin. Are there any other comments or questions from the council? I guess, Amy, just help me or help the council and the community understand the time frame of moving forward.
Sure, so we're gonna be working with the EDC to narrow down, the three. And we'll be giving our recommendations to AJ. He'll come back with a revised design, and then I think he does 2 revisions, and then we bring that to the council for a recommendation. And the hope is to do that by the end of November.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Amy. Is there anyone in council chambers that has a question or a comment? Please come forward. Name and address, please.
David Rittenhouse, 24 Hunters Run. I want to congratulate the team on the production of this review. I enjoyed it, and I agree with Councilor Jones that the shield is a really nice design. I like the mirror approach. I do think that instead of Town of Franklin, perhaps adjacent to it could be Franklin, Massachusetts, to help differentiate us from the 28 other Franklins.
I was thinking of that too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good point.
Yeah, good point.
Is there anyone else in council chambers? Is there anyone out there in Zoom land? Okay, not seeing anyone. Amy, AJ, thank you very much for your presentation. We look forward to the next phase.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, AJ. Thank you, Amy.
Okay, moving on. Next item on the agenda is legislation for action. Resolution 24-61, local acceptance of general law, Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8J, Disability Commission. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 24-61, local acceptance of General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8J, whereas General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8J is a local acceptance statute which authorizes a municipality which votes to accept its provisions to establish a commission on disability for the purposes and with the powers and composition specified in this statute. Now, therefore, the Franklin Town Council, acting on behalf of the Town of Franklin, hereby votes to accept the provisions of General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8J. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-61.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, Jamie?
Through Mr. Chairman, in the aura of checking off town council goals for the year, one of them was to formally accept the local acceptance statute creating the Disability Commission. As you may recall, last year, we went through the budget and gave boards and committees that had never had a budget before a budget. And the Disability Commission, for some reason, was an oversight, I think, for a long time. Mary O'Neill and that committee has done an unbelievable job with the disability fair every year. So there's money in the budget for them to do the disability fair on an annual basis. As we were going through that process, we learned that the town formally never accepted the statute to create the commission. So this is a house cleaning item, and we'll check off a goal. We'll put the town in compliance with accepting the statute for the Disability Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-61. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bylaw Amendment 24-914. A bylaw to amend the code of the town of Franklin at Chapter 82, Fees Municipal Service. This is the second reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is bylaw amendment 24-914, Chapter 82 Fees Municipal Services. A bylaw to amend the code of town of Franklin at Chapter 82 Fees Municipal Services.
Motion to waive the reading.
Second.
Motion is second to waive the reading. All those in favor of waiving the reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move bylaw amendment 24-914.
Second.
reading.
No, it's not. This is for
This is for,
adoption. Yeah.
not to go to the second meeting.
So we have a motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie, quick summary.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, so as we've gone through as the staff, just a huge shout out to Julie and Jared and everybody in the office, the town attorney. We're going through and updating the service fees to make sure that the service that we're providing, the money is coming in to pay for that. As you look down the chart, we also have eliminated dozens and dozens of fees that either aren't relevant anymore, the department staff didn't feel like we weren't getting applications for. And so we are getting rid of a tremendous amount of fees. And I also give credit to a lot of departments for really streamlining their fee sections, particularly fire, DPW, the building commissioner, and a variety of others. I'll end my quick comment on the fact that I think one of the most important pieces of this reform is not only to make sure that we're up to speed and up to market on the fees, but also that we are proposing to the community to increase the water, sewer, and trash discounts as part of the community assistance program from 20% to 50%. That will mean real savings for people who are income eligible. And just so we're clear, this is not based on age or any other sub-demographic. This is based on your income. And people go in, they apply for a form, they bring their income tax reforms down to the DPW. The DPW director and Kathy down there and the entire staff do a great job. We do reach out to those individuals on an annual basis to make sure they're still eligible. We want to help people with these bills. This isn't something we're trying to avoid, so the DPW does a great job with that. And also, I'll speak to the snow issue when we get to that one. So that's just this right here. And this, as you just said, would enact this bylaw, and it would be effective January 1st. So it would give all of our small businesses, 2 or 3 months heads up of any of these adjustments. As I said at the last meeting, none of the alcohol or business-oriented restaurant-related licenses are increasing. Our market analysis showed we were spot on already, and so happy to answer any questions that folks have.
Thank you, Jimmy. Questions or comment? Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a curious note, Mr. Chairman, through you to Jamie. Black powder under.
Oh, please.
Yeah. Well, no, under hazardous substances left unattended. When's the last time we've ever had such a?
So we don't know of an instance, but that is required now under the fire code to have in here in case there was disposable amount. If someone brought black powder and wanted to dispose of it, we would charge a $50 fee to remove it properly and safely. But I'm not aware through the fire chief that we've had that instance, but the state is telling us we have to have those in here.
Yeah.
It's part of Mass General Law.
That's fine. It's not a big deal. I'm just curious because, in the midst of cleaning things up, that seemed kind of odd to have that in there.
Leave it.
Say it again?
Movie
Attorney
sets.
Sorrell,
Historic reenactors, yeah, movie sets, there's potential
people
for
still
it to
use
show up.
black powder. Yeah. they do.
Hunters.
Yeah.
Thank you, just curious.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve bylaw amendment 24-914. Majority roll call votes required. Clerk will call the roll.
You weren't ready.
Once again.
Listen, you're fired.
Okay.
Cormier Ledger?
Yes.
Sheridan?
Yes.
Chandler?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
Plegri?
Yes.
Hamblin?
Yes.
Jones, yes. Vice Chair?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
9-0, sir.
Motion carries. Next, bylaw amendment 24-915, a bylaw to amend the code of the town of Franklin at chapter 139 sewers. Second reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Town of Franklin Bylaw Amendment 24-915, Chapter 139 Sewers. A bylaw to amend the Code of Town of Franklin at Chapter 139 Sewers. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council at Chapter 139 Sewers, the Code of Town
Motion
of
to waive the
Franklin.
reading.
Second.
Motion and second to waive the reading. All those in favor of waiving the reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move bylaw amendment 24-915.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie, summary?
Add, same thing I just said, except this just relates to the sewer system because it had to be in a separate part of the bylaw.
Right. Okay, questions from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve bylaw amendment 24-915. Again, a majority roll call votes required. Clerk will call the roll.
Sheridan?
Yes.
Cormier Ledger?
Yes.
Frangillo?
Yes.
Chandler?
Yes.
Hamblin?
Yes.
Plegri?
Yes.
Jones, yes. Vice Chair?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
9-0, sir.
Motion carries. Bylaw amendment 24-916, a bylaw to amend the code of the town of Franklin at chapter 147, snow and ice, removal of. Second reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is bylaw amendment 24-916, Chapter 147, snow and ice removal of. A bylaw to amend the Code of Town of Franklin at Chapter 147, snow and ice removal of. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that the Code of Town of Franklin is amended at Chapter 147, snow and ice removal of by making additions as follows. This is under subsection 147-5, acceptance to compliance. The Department of Public Works Director is authorized to waive compliance with this bylaw by private residential property owners or owners based on the determination of undue financial hardship to said private residential property owners. This bylaw amendment shall become effective according to the provisions of the Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move bylaw amendment 24-916.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Jamie?
Everything again I just said on the last two. This one needs to be placed into the bylaw referring to snow, just so folks are clear. This would allow folks with the same financial hardship on the previous fees in the Community Assistance Program to also be able to not have to potentially pay for the expensive endeavor of clearing a large chunk of sidewalk in the district at which it's required to shovel snow, which is essentially along 140. So anybody out there in town that thinks it's on their sidewalks, this is not applicable. It's only applicable to the areas that are required in the commercial zones to remediate the snow off the sidewalks. This would allow those individuals who have financial hardship to seek a waiver through the same process as outlined earlier. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the town administrator. Jamie, we got some questions on this that from some residents. Can financial hardship be expanded to personal and physical limitations? Because I think we have some folks, whether it be by age or whether it just be by, just maybe they live alone, but there may not be a financial hardship, but they can't possibly do that length of sidewalk on their own, and I'm just questioning if we need to enhance the language at all.
Yeah, I think we need people to at least come forward. The language is at least broad enough to be able to consider that, and I think we need people to come in and at least apply for that so we know what exactly that hardship is, why, and this bylaw gives the DPW director obviously the authority to do that. So I think we can work within the confines, but we do need people to come forward and be able to at least apply. There's a one-page form, as we'll all kind of learn about through this process, that they currently use. And I think to try to streamline it for the DPW staff, we would just use the same, the same application, and we just have people bring forward some materials to show that they have that hardship.
So
Attorney Sorrell?
I'm sorry.
If somebody were physically incapable, we're going to have to hire somebody, contract, whatever, given the circumstances, that would fall within this.
The financial hardship.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Councilor DeLarco?
No, I had the same calls that Council Cuomo alleged did, so let me get this straight. So if they physically can't do it, they still have to come in and fill out because these people are older and they're not gonna be able to shovel their sidewalk. There's no possible way.
I'm gonna say something that, I agree, but I just gotta be clear, like, there has to be some sort of limitation, and we have to have some knowledge of who these people are somehow.
No, okay,
Otherwise,
I agree with
otherwise, I think the bylaw, it just isn't gonna work, right? At some point, we've went through this discussion for years about snow removal. We are very, very kind people. We're not gonna just shutter people out. I understand some people may be concerned about that, but on a stretch of required sidewalk across the entire town, we obviously know there are gonna be some people with financial hardships or disabilities that are not gonna be able to do it. We're gonna work with those individuals.
I don't think that was the question that Councilor DeLarco had. He was more just trying to, I believe, trying to get the information out to the public that they will have to fill out a form. That's all.
That's what
And can they fill out that form online, or do they have to come in and fill it out?
It's a great question. To be honest with you, we have the form in-house. I'm sure we can put the form online.
Isn't it online?
Is it online, Brutus?
I think it's online. That's why I saw it.
I'm not sure where.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Bruce Skinner, Public Works Director. It's not online because we have to ask for personal information and their tax returns, especially if it's a financial thing. You're also just candidly bringing up about physical, whether it could be an age or disability.
Right. That's what
about
I'm
that. Yeah, and we just kind of need to know where they are and what they're going to do for operations type thing. And I think, I've talked to my boss about it quite a bit. I don't want to be giving out tickets. I don't want to,
I know you don't.
I'm just trying to go with, we worked on for a long time about trying to be more efficient in our sidewalks and spreading it out. So that's what we're trying to do, but I do need to know where the folks are. Just because we got to have, the equipment. We have to, if we're not going to do a section or someone's not going to do it, we make sure I have to have someone drive by their house and clear it.
So that's what
okay.
That's all I want.
But yes, that form is not online just because of because it was designed for, community assistance.
Understood. So is it the town hall and the DPW? They can go to either or is it just DPW?
We prefer the DPW, but as you know, anyone who comes in the town hall or the DPW, we are going to pass them in the right direction. But we want people to go to the DPW.
That's all.
Prefer DPW, but you can go to the town hall.
But get the ball rolling. That's all.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm trying to say. And then that's fine.
Thank you, Councilor DeLarco. Councilor Plegri, did you have your hand up?
Yes, through the chair. What if we were just to add over here, on a determination of undue financial or disability or physical hardship.
Attorney Sorrell.
Procedurally, this is second reading, so
Right.
that's questionable whether you could
Right.
do that.
We'd have to start.
As a practical matter, you got, financial stuff, it's more cut and dried. Otherwise, you're gonna get into making medical determinations or requesting medical documentation, which is more personal information that we now responsible for disposing of properly, et cetera. We're just trying to deal with a narrow exception here to give some flexibility.
Jamie, did you have something to add?
Well said.
If we can't do it, we can't do it. It just seems like it would make it easier, to follow, but thank you.
Thank you. Any other counselors? Thank you, Bruce. Okay, seeing no further discussion, the vote will come on the motion to approve bylaw amendment 24-916. Again, a majority roll call votes required. Clerk will call the roll.
Cormier.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Chandler.
Yes.
Margillo.
Yes.
Pellegri.
Yes.
Hamblin.
Yes.
Jones, yes. Vice Chair.
Yes.
Chair.
Yes.
9-0, sir.
Motion carries. Resolution 24-60, gift acceptance, Veterans Services Department, $2,125. Senior Center, $275. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 24-60, acceptance of gifts, Veterans Service Department and Senior Center, whereas the Veterans Service Department and the Franklin Senior Center have received generous donations in the total amount of $2,400 to be used at the discretion of each department as follows. Donation summary, Veterans Service Department, $2,125. Donation to be used at the discretion of the Veterans Services Department through both the Veterans Gift Fund and the Franklin Municipal Veterans Assistance Fund in support of local veterans and their families. Senior Center, $275. Donations to be applied to, at the discretion of the Senior Center through the Council on Aging Gift Fund to provide services and programs to senior citizens in the Franklin community. The list of all donors is included in the October 16th, 2024 Town Council meeting agenda packet. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council and Town of Franklin, on behalf of the Veterans Service Department and the Senior Center, gratefully accept these generous donations to be used at the discretion of each department for the purposes noted above. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-60.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion, other than another great big thank you to these individuals, corporations, companies that continue to support our veteran services and our senior center, as well as many other departments in town. A great thank you to all of them. So seeing no further discussion, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-60. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Town Administrator report.
As mentioned earlier, Mr. Chairman, Joint Budget Subcommittee is next Wednesday. I will have a revised 5-year fiscal forecast based on the feedback from the committee at the last meeting. As people will find out, there's really not a lot more to change in the assumption model until we get local aid in late January. But we will update the numbers, we will look at the assumptions, and we are also going to discuss what the town staff are working on right now with relation to getting ready for the tax rate hearing, getting ready for the FY25 final budget presentation on November 6th at the FinCom and the council on the 13th. There'll be some minor tweaks, it won't be anything substantial for FY25, but as folks hopefully remember, because I've said it many times over the years, the state budget gets done after our budgets get done, and so the cherry sheet and local aid had a small amount of money that we have to adjust, and there's a few other adjustments that we have to make. It's really nothing substantial. So the town staff right now are working on closing out the books from last fiscal year, certifying our free cash with the state, with DOR. To the comments earlier, our staff is actually working quite a bit. We'll go through that at the Joint Budget Subcommittee meeting. I've been meeting with the superintendent every 2 weeks. Their staff is also going through year-end reporting and a bunch of certifications through DESE and a whole variety of other work to get ready for their budget finalization. As they move forward for the current fiscal year, we will put out a 5-year fiscal forecast based on the assumptions talked about at the last one, and we will also be talking and getting, as a joint budget subcommittee, we'll also be getting an update from the superintendent on redistricting. So it will be a pretty lengthy meeting. There'll be a lot to talk about, and then next steps for the committee after that. I do want to thank, and I was not around because I was on my way home from vacation and I was unable to attend, but a huge shout out to JR, John Ryan, and the Franklin Police Department. We had Jimmy Lawrence here at the last meeting. JR retired last week after 32 years with the town of Franklin. I know he is probably the most excited retiree I've ever met in my life. So JR, if you're out there, I know you're not listening at all, and you'll never listen again, but to any of these meetings. But truly, you know, I have just an immense amount of respect for anybody that works in any job for 32 years at that level, but particularly here in the Franklin PD or a police officer is a tremendous career. So we wish JR all of the peace and quiet in retirement. And finally, happy to take questions. That's why I put it on the agenda under TA report. And we don't really have any substantial green communities update. As everybody knows, we've been working, and our facilities department has been working all summer on some of the renovations in this building. Last year, a year and a half ago, we did make all the controls and the boilers and mechanicals in this building energy efficient. I know that we've been installing charging stations down at the DPW. We've been putting compost and implementing compostable in all of our schools. We hope to try to expand that to some of the town buildings down the road as well. And just, I think this is, to some degree, with the bandwidth and the amount of work we all have on, we know that Mark Minichelli and many others have been advocating for sustainability coordinator or director. We know that we don't have the budget capacity to do that position yet, to be able to put it into the budget because of all the other financial issues in town, as stated earlier. I just want to make sure everybody is aware, you know, every one of our departments and every one of our department heads, they may not achieve every single mission they can with sustainability on everything they do, particularly vehicle purchases with police cruisers or fire vehicles or DPW vehicles. But our staff does do a good job, and every one of our department heads thinks of sustainability, thinks of green energy and renewables in what we do on a day in and day out basis. When we can take advantage of that stuff, when we can apply for grants like we have with the pump stations in the sewer department, when we can take advantage of National Grid, by the way, who pays for a tremendous amount of infrastructure in town relating to this. We try to take advantage of that. I wish I had a huge announcement, something that was really you know, press release worthy of an update, but as you know, Mr. Chairman, we've had a lot of staff out on FMLA or have had other family related issues. Our bandwidth is a little stretched thin with a lot of the work that we have. And so I don't have much more of an update other than that, but I hope that gives everybody a sense of some of the stuff that we have been working on.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions? Councilor Frangillo?
Yeah, I think you sort of answered it. I think I was one who asked for this as an agenda item, and it came purely because at the last MMA meeting, your annual summit, I happened to walk by the green communities, saw some friendly faces, and asked Franklin hadn't been in the last funding round, and they said it's because we hadn't completed our last project, so we weren't able to apply for future funding rounds, and then we also didn't get the next funding round. Did we complete the last project, and now we just don't have the, and now it's just a matter of, can we put a grant proposal together for the next funding round, or do we still have an ongoing project that's holding up our eligibility?
If the project, that's a great question. I will double check and I'll shoot you an email offline, but
Yeah.
If that project is not complete, I think it's not from a lack of the project or the infrastructure being complete. I think maybe there's just there's some reports that have to go through DOER, through Kelly Brown, to kind of check off those boxes. So I'll double check with Mike and Kevin and see if those have been done, to just sometimes that happens. You might get the contract done, the charging station is in, but as you know, better than anybody, then you gotta submit reports, and you gotta go through Kelly, and you gotta get things checked off. So maybe some of that bureaucracy hasn't been done, but I'll double check with them to make sure that we've completed those contracts. Because I'm not aware of a contract that has not been fulfilled, but whether a project is complete is also dependent on the state saying it's complete by whatever they need to say it's complete.
It was also 9 months ago, so it's possible.
Right.
But yeah, and the other thing you spoke to, I mean, I think that there's never been more funds available for sustainability projects, which in turn save the town money in a variety of ways, and our ability to onboard a sustainability coordinator, even part-time, has the opportunity to turn back lots of money for the town, and I hope that we continue to take this seriously.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Any other councilors? Okay, moving on, subcommittee and ad hoc committee reports. Capital has not met. EDC, Councilor Hamblin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, the EDC met earlier this evening, and you have all heard what we heard. About AJ Rebecki, I think our next meeting will be on November 13th, where we'll hone more of the logo discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Budget Subcommittee has not met, but we're meeting next Wednesday night, and we will have more to report on the 30th. Let's see, Master Plan Committee. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next scheduled meeting is next Wednesday, the 23rd at 6:30 p.m. It will more than likely be here in the council chambers. The agenda will be posted tomorrow. And we have a lot on our plate, Mr. Chairman. We've basically sent out to the various departments for feedback on the implementation portion of it. And we have reviewed their feedback, and our various subcommittees are working diligently over the last couple of weeks until next week to kind of fill in the gaps and finalize a draft. Once we come to a collective agreement next Wednesday, we're going to put forth a draft implementation that's going to ultimately go to the public for review. So they'll have roughly a month, maybe 6 weeks or so, to review the public document and then give us feedback, and then we'll move on to the final draft.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Jones. Police Station Building Committee, we are trying to put together a meeting in the next couple of weeks. An email just went out to all the members today, so that will be posted online, and people will get an opportunity to tune in or come to that subcommittee meeting. GATRA Advisory Board, Councilor Frangillo?
Haven't met.
Okay, future agenda items. Councilor Sheridan?
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Frangillo?
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Hamblin?
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Cormier Ledger?
Just if we could look into what the gentleman brought up tonight.
I think I saw Jamie go over and speak.
Just to hear what he has to say.
I gave him my email and asked him just if he wanted to set up a meeting with me. I'll be happy to pass it along. But
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier Ledger. Councilor Chandler?
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Plagree?
Officer Ryan, if we can do a proclamation and get him on the next,
He won't come.
well, we'll do a proclamation and get it to him.
Yeah, we can do something to get it to him, for sure. And give him the opportunity to say that.
Yes.
Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's something I brought up once before, just to, as a reminder, is a facilities report. We used to get updates from the facilities department on the current status of building.
We talked about that the other day,
Okay.
so that will be on.
Perfect.
On the very near future agendas.
Thank you.
Councilor DeLoco?
Nothing.
Okay, councilor comments. Start over here. Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I'll start with the positive. The Franklin Lions Club's once again doing the outdoor Halloween decorating contest I have seen a lot of entries. There's now a map. The judging will be going on this weekend, so I encourage everybody to get a map and get out there and take a drive. Your neighbors have put a lot of work into celebrating the holiday and making it more enjoyable for you and your family. And then the winners will be announced at the end of this weekend when judging is over. Friday night will be the varsity football game. Was alluded to earlier. I hope everybody will come. Franklin High School varsity team's on a roll, and it is Teacher Appreciation Night. So it would be great for to have a lot of people in the audience, not just to cheer on the boys, but to say thank you to a teacher. And I guess I will just comment on the earlier things that were said. Kindness does matter, and I would certainly sad to hear that some things were said to Mrs. Videra at that debate. I'm not aware of what was said to her. I was outside waiting in line, but I honestly didn't hear anything that was said to her. If I truly witnessed somebody badgering and threatening another human being, regardless of political differences, I would have stepped in. And I didn't. I did hear people screaming in the background about the site not being appropriate and being fixed because we couldn't get people in. So I thought that was the kerfuffle behind me. But I haven't been contacted by the Midway Police. I haven't been contacted by the Franklin Police to say, did you witness some awful thing that happened to her? So I'm sorry that was said to her. I truly am. I have made it a point to denounce that type of language and that type of there's no call for it. I congratulated Chuck at the debate. I went up to him and shook his hand and thanked him for participating in a civil debate with Jeff, because I think that's the right thing to do. I was there as a counselor, and I was happy to see that that debate went off without a hitch. And I'll just close with, we are all neighbors. We are all here to live in town together. Right? Jane's daughter makes my coffee every single day at Dunkin' Donuts, and I say hello to her and ask her how she's doing. Jen's son plays with my son on the varsity football team. Do we have political differences? Yes, but kindness matters and civility matters, and we have to treat each other with that kindness all the time. I have no idea the things that are being said on Vote Franklin. Quite frankly, I'm not on that page that often, but if I had, just because I'm a member doesn't mean I see every post. However, if I do see some nasty things being said, I will certainly try to speak up and tell them that there's no place for that on that page. And with that, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, well, I'll say my first one first, then I'll get to that. I was doing a lot of work reading all these questions, the ballot questions. I just hope everyone takes a couple minutes to do that because it's coming up and they're all very important. And now I'll talk about what happened to Ms. Federa, and as a human I'll call her Dashi. It was unacceptable, whatever. I didn't see what happened that night. I was already inside. I just am worried about this. We're so divided. This time, I mean, we're all saying everybody kindness, but I see a lot of bad things. And I do feel a little bad because I am in some Facebook groups, but I don't read it all the time. And I definitely, for the last 5 years, have never responded online. So, but it's just definitely unacceptable what happened to her. And lastly, did the gentleman that did this, so allegedly did this, is a volunteer. Do we do it through you, Mr. Chairman? I mean, can he at least be asked if anything? I mean, it happened in Midway. I'm getting ahead of myself here. So I don't know if have you been contacted? How about that?
I have not been contacted. I don't truly even really know what anybody's talking about. I think it's very clear and important to mention to people, for folks watching at home, these aren't government events. It wasn't in Franklin.
No.
Whatever the decision was about whatever the event was in Medway was in Medway. You know, and I just think that, you know, I think to your point, I have no police reports or whatever's referenced. I've never been contacted by a single person about this. I think to me, it just seems like a kerfuffle and things maybe got a little out of control or whatever. But somebody has to go to the police or whatever the process is. Councilor Chandler, you would know that as well as anyone. You know, I can't be basing decisions or whatever off that type of stuff. I need something, but I have a feeling there was a disagreement from what everyone has said. It seems like emotions were high. Seems like it was a political debate, so therefore there are probably already people there. Their emotions are a little tense. And, you know, hopefully people can find it in themselves to move on and try to recognize that with incidents that are brought forward like this, maybe we need to take a little additional breath. Mr. Chairman gives me a tip oftentimes, count to 10. And it's a great rule of thumb, very wise, and so that's about all I know.
Okay, well then,
Still yours, Councilor Chandler.
with that, I know the person isn't here right now, but I would hope that she would go to the police and they could do extra checks of her house to help make her feel safe.
Sure.
Whatever went on with that, you know. Well, that's it, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Pellegrini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a few things here. First, I would like to ask the town administrator about the appeals board, why it has not been put back, that it's open to the public, the meetings, and it's still on Zoom. And ask that it be put, that it's open.
I have asked the chairman to have meetings in person for a couple of years. The law does not require them to do that. If the town council wanted to have every meeting over Zoom, you could. There are actually still boards of selectmen in Massachusetts. There are your bodies, similar to you, that have never met in person since the pandemic. There are boards, there's tons of boards. I've asked the chairman politely numerous times, and recently I have gotten indication that maybe the Zoning Board of Appeals coming up is going to start to hold some meetings in person again. But Councilor Puggy, as the chairman knows, I've asked them numerous times due to a lot of complaints from citizens and saying, you know, you're the only board not showing up in person. Let's get back in the chamber and have some meetings in here.
But you as town administrator, and that's an appointed board, you have the authority, don't you, to tell them?
Nope.
Really? It doesn't make
Tried
sense.
that.
Well, it's state law.
They extended this,
We have appointment
Attorney
authority.
Surratt.
they have periodically extended the exception to the open meeting law that they passed during the pandemic for remote participation, making it totally available. Presently, it's due to run out in what, next March?
Yeah.
So, and then they may kick it down the road again, they may do something more dramatic. Just have to wait.
The authority that the town administrator has is the appointments to the board.
Yeah.
So you could address it that way
And-
if he so chose.
And both appointments that have just gone through are individuals who want to meet in person. I asked them that when they were applying for the
I
committee.
was gonna ask you that next.
So they both have committed to that, but as a committee, the 5 of them have to get the rest of them and everybody on board to do it, and then do it. So hopefully that'll change soon.
Just doesn't make sense that a board can do whatever they want, an appointed board, and that you're not there with your thumb on them. But I understand if that's the law. The old museum.
Yeah.
I took a walk around it the other day. If you look at the front of it, you'll see the boards, I don't know what they're called, but they're all hanging, not hanging, what do I want to say? There's a bow in them. Okay? Same with the pillars. You know, they don't look like, the one on the right is not straight. So before it falls apart, is there something that we can do about it, or get Habitat for Humanities to do something about it? Have they given us any money at all for that yet?
They have not. We have just gotten the preservation agreement, and we're working on the land disposition agreement. You know, we're dealing with a nonprofit that doesn't have paid legal staff, so they do pro bono legal work. I am really hoping by the end of this calendar year, all of that legal requirement work that needs to go into the deed will be completed. And I'm hoping that in 2025, Habitat will take over the property and begin the renovation.
Have they been able to secure money for the project?
Yeah.
Oh, they have?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought we were waiting to hear about that, too.
Nope. Nope. They have the financing in place. It's just an incredible amount of legal paperwork that we have to go through. So I'm hopeful. I just got another draft back 2 weeks ago from them. Mark has generally signed off on all of the changes that were in it in the LDA, and I just need to get the time to set up a meeting with them, hopefully in the next month, to kind of, you know, cross the Ts and dot the Is, and hopefully in the next several months we'll be able to process that deed through the registry.
Okay, thank you. Next, I had an opportunity to go to the Davis Thayer School. I was asked to work with a presentation with a student that is doing this. It's his last year at Dean. So we went through everything, and he's doing a video. So when that comes aboard, it will be nice to see. You know, he went around and took all kinds of pictures and all. But aside from that, I was astonished when I went into the kitchen and the cafeteria area, because there were hundreds of, we used to have one in here, one of those units.
Air filter?
Oh, the filters?
Air filter.
Oh, the filters?
The filter?
The air filters, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's hundreds in there.
That's right.
And what are we doing with them?
Selling them off.
Selling them off?
Yeah, they were filters that we bought through the pandemic for all the schools, right? We had some in here, but all of those filters will be surplused off by procurement laws. Because the filters, we don't need them anymore, and the filters are extremely expensive to replace, and we have hundreds of those units. But this is gonna be the downside we're all gonna see of all the pandemic era stuff, where there's so much sanitizer still out there that's expired, and filters aren't replaceable. You know, this is coming, I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but in 5 months, it'll be the 5th anniversary of when COVID started, so those filters are almost 5 years old now. And they've been pulling them out of the school buildings, you know, slowly. So that's why they're in Davis Thayer right now.
I know we still have one at the museum.
Yeah.
I mean, is it used for air purification or what now?
Yeah, it does some, you know, minor good with air, which is air quality or just airflow. But with the UV ductwork that we have in all of the buildings, that's really the defining thing that we got out of the pandemic, was fixing all of our ductwork to make it, to kill all the viruses and bacteria in the air that's in the buildings, and the schools, by the way.
Okay. I think those are all, oh no, last. Again, I didn't agree with what was being done tonight with that branding and that. And again, I'll say that I appreciate all the hard work you do, but it just didn't hit me right. I think that perhaps what someone should be thinking about is what we call the building here. Some call it the town hall, some call it the municipal building. Let's get together with that for a branding idea.
It's right on the side of the building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
So why are you calling it the town hall?
Did I?
Tonight you did it again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but no, it isn't just you, Jamie.
Yeah.
You know, many people, and you'll read different papers in that, and it always says town hall rather than municipal building. And I can remember saying, why are we calling this municipal building? Why are we not staying with the town hall? You know, because that's what everybody's used to saying.
Right.
But municipal building came forward, and yeah.
That's,
So I mean, that's a confusing part. That's something to think about. That's something to think about. And for Dasha, I'm very sorry to have heard everything that was going on with that. I think that's terrible. Franklin is not that kind of community as far as I'm concerned. And I just don't like hearing that at all. And let me just make sure here, because this is my time to speak. Someone had said something about the 150 feet. I don't know if it was one of you. You did. That's state law. You know, we have to follow that as far as, but you talked about being on the lawn there.
Beyond the 150.
That's,
It's beyond 150.
Okay, I don't want to get into a back and forth.
okay, no, I'll talk to you after then, okay? But I mean, we have to follow the 150 or more. Mr. Chairman, other than all the deaths that we've had the past couple of weeks, it's been terrible, terrible, terrible. I have a dear friend of mine. For 72 years, she was the best friend, and suddenly passed away, along with Chairman's sister-in-law, and I could go on. I had eight, and it was just heartbreaking. So they're all at peace, hope to God. I think that's it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Councilor Sheridan?
I have no comment.
Councilor Frangillo?
Yeah, no comment. You covered all the upcoming events at the top. Hope to see some of you tomorrow morning.
Councilor Hamblin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say that I'm really sorry to hear about all the disrespect in the community. I understand how that feels. I've been targeted myself, so I want everybody to know that they're not alone. I completely understand. And I will say that's why I actually left Facebook. And I have found the community to be much more friendly and inviting. When you're not reading everything people have to say, you get to see it in person. And I've always been willing to meet with people in person. I talk to people via email or on the phone, and you get a better sense of the humanity that's there. And I hope that Jen Clark does not give up, because I think just coming in tonight, it makes a big difference, right? Hope everybody votes, and hopefully we'll see people tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Needless to say, September and the beginning of October has certainly had its challenges. I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention Hurricane Milton, which went through my mother's backyard. It actually caused some severe damage to much of Florida. Fortunately, my mother's house and my sister's house down in Florida had survived the large brunt of the hurricane. That was categorically one of the largest hurricanes to ever go across the state of Florida, and unfortunately there were some very unfortunate situations, and I think we should all remember and care for those who did lose quite a bit from this hurricane. It's a very sad situation. They're still recovering in North Carolina from Hurricane Helene, and my cares and thoughts go out to those who are still in very much need. My mother hasn't yet returned to the house in Florida. My sister is going to be heading back today. From what I've been told, they're fortunate, but some people definitely weren't so fortunate with the hurricane. And at Tampa, you know, that whole west coast of Florida, I really feel for those people. They got a fairly good warning about that event before it hit them. It was a very unusual weather event that occurred. But, you know, God bless those people. I really hope they're okay. To Charles and to Jeff, I was there with you at the event. I congratulated you and Jeff on a very cordial, very professional debate. I want to thank you again and thank Jeff again for a very well-spoken debate. And I truly appreciate both of your opinions on many of the matters. I was very happy to hear you both agreed on several of the topics of discussion that night. I remiss, I don't know what happened outside because I was already inside at the time. I did hear that they had difficulty getting seating inside, and eventually the fire chief had to be called to eventually allow more seating. I feel sad for Dashi that she had been treated the way that she was. Nobody should be treated that way, regardless of their opinions or how they personally feel about something or feel scared. That's everybody's got the right to put themselves into the public arena and try and belong in some way or fashion and not feel like they're being threatened. That's certainly wrong in all facets. I think we can all agree that no matter what may come over the next weeks that are coming, regardless of differences of opinion, we're all in this together. We have to find ways to work together, regardless of opinion, regardless of feelings, and understand that we are all together in this as the town of Franklin, because, you know, we could be like Tampa, where there's nothing left, and then we all have to, regardless of the fact, work together to try to pick up the pieces and put things back together. We're very fortunate to be where we are today, living in this wonderful town. There are some things that, you know, look, you can sit there and argue about logos and symbols and paint jobs and lighting and all the petty stuff that makes a first world country is what it is. But at the end of the day, we're very fortunate to live in such a wonderful town, in such a wonderful community, and it's all of us together or not at all. That's really what this boils down to. We need to make this work, plain and simple. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor DeLorco.
Thank you. I also, very sorry to hear that, that happened to Dash. Yeah, she should go to the police department and file a report. She did. Oh, she did? Oh, good. She should do that. I actually was at Awake, so I couldn't go, and I was in line for 2 hours. I was trying to get there, but I couldn't get there. Yeah, I was there. But, yeah, I mean, social media is a killer in this country. I don't care what anybody says. It's a, you know, just call somebody up and have an argument with them. Go out in the parking lot, fight out, and then become friends. That's what we did when I was young.
That's what I did.
That's what I did. For crying out loud, you know? And kindness does matter, but we are separated in this town so bad that I don't think anything's gonna work to get it back together. Nobody wants to do it. Everybody wants to, and we need to get together. And we need to get together fast. And we can, things will be so much better if we just come together and try to work together, people. That's all we have to do. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, doesn't matter. We're Franklin people. That's what we are. Then who cares what you are? And who cares who has a good idea, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican? If it's a good idea for the town, it's a good idea for the town. I'm getting tired of all that stuff. But outside of that, we did have a lot of deaths this week. Jeannie Pisani, she was a election worker, right? She was at the first stage, right, for the longest time. And then Mary Lampazona, and of course, Mary Mercer, Tommy's sister, Alan's wife. Very bad. I hope they all rest in peace, and I hope they're all having a happy town council meeting up there compared to us. So, and everybody's being happy. Outside of that, I got nothing to say.
Thank you, Councilor DeLorco. I guess I start with, I feel the same way as my fellow councilors do. Apologize that happened to Dashi at the event. There is no place for that kind of hatred, not just in Franklin, anywhere. That hatred just does not belong. And I feel terrible that it happened. And I do believe that kindness does matter. You know, it's a joy sometimes riding through the community and seeing those signs out there. It does make you take a step back and think, kindness does matter. We need to be kind to each other. We may not all have the same opinions, but we can at least understand and be kind to the individuals. Again, as my fellow councilors have alluded to, we've had a lot of deaths in the family, in our community over the last couple of months. As Councilor Pellegrini mentioned, there were 7 or 8. And, you know, I had 2 in the last 10 days, in the last 2 weeks that were very, very close to me. Jeannie Pisani, I grew up next door to. from a child, and her husband and I were best friends, and our families vacationed together. And I just like to send out my condolences to the entire Pisani family. I'd also like to send, again, condolences out to my brother and the Becksha family for their loss. And I think that's all I have this evening. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Non-debatable. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?